Hey,
Hey,
what's up?
uh, nothing much. Just drawing these heads and trying to learn from line Drucker's shape design.
Okay, cool, cool.
Uh, and what are you up to?
I'm drawing elves, but before we get to that, today I have Artur joining me from Estonia. He's an artist. How old are you now?
I'll be 23 tomorrow.
Wow. Oh, happy birthday, as they
Thank
say.
you.
So, I brought up some of the stuff that Arthur's done and some stuff that I really enjoyed from his. So, this one is actually my favorite one. It's a moon guy. So can you tell me? I'm gonna go through your art and then tell me what your idea was when you did these pieces.
Yeah, sure. So with Moonman, uh, at first I just drew up like bunch of sketches and just tried to make like cool shapes and I really like this one, so I took it further. And at some point during, the color stage and stuff like that, I got a really awesome idea. And the way I got this idea is interesting because yeah, um, one of my friends called Will, he's called that dang space guy, and I was
Yeah.
talking with him. So somehow my mind went to like space and like uh, from there on from the space it went to moon and then I was like, whoa, what if I made this like super somewhat over the top character or like like a cartoony character and had like these stars and this uh, deep blue clothing and stuff. And then I tried to make like clouds as like ornaments and
Uh
just
huh.
added a moon head and then I was like, so who is this guy, And I was like, maybe he's like this space mage kind of guy, really mystical, and
I like it.
you
I
know,
like he has the finger to probe you with and the anime battle aura on the
yeah,
ground. I think that really brings it together. All right.
yeah, thank you.
So there's this one. I
It's
really
like
like.
good.
This one is, I think, production wise, is like probably the best one you've done so far. Can you explain like the background of this?
Yeah, that piece was a journey, man. Uh, yeah, I'm quite happy with myself, and once I published it, people were like, "Whoa, what the hell?"
That's always a good one. That's always a good reaction.
Yeah. So this is a character from Smite, which I did some fan arts for,
Hmm.
and my friend Devin Platz, he helps me a lot with this. He gave me like tons of advice and critiques. So at first I made like a different version of this, and I went to like painting and rendering. There was like a lot of places where I was frustrated with it. But at some point, I went back to like the thumbnail stage because Devin always said, do your 5 to 6 thumbnails that are good.
Hmm.
Keep them simple, like tree values or something like that. So I went back to that and I resketched it. And the idea behind this piece is that he's shifting from autumn to winter. So you can
Oh,
see the
yeah, yeah,
so you can see his back arm is going like wintry.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like this character, I did some research and tried to find something that was interesting for me, and I really found that part interesting. So tried to convey that, and that made the process of painting it more enjoyable.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's like the dynamicness part is really hard. Like I had shit ton of failures, like just constant frustration and failing, but eventually I managed to get some kind of a hang and do this.
Do you find that you have those moments where you have this like frustration at something you can't get correct, or you think it's like going to fail if you keep going with it, but then eventually you keep pushing it to this idea, and it ends up being pretty successful?
That's complex. I'd say there's two kinds of frustration. There's one kind where you've done something wrong and deep down you know it, but you aren't fixing it. And the other frustration is just like you're trying to capture an idea or an ideal and you're failing at it.
Yeah.
But usually I just write that frustration and make a breakthrough.
Yeah. So I like this one too. This one kind of reminds me of Legion Commander from Dota 2. It's kind of, she has kind of that Legionnaire kind of armor going on.
Yeah, this is another Smite fan art.
Oh.
And, yeah, I did 3 of those. They're all the dynamic things I did. Basically, those are my introduction to splash art as well. And once again, Devin Platz helped me out. So, yeah, with this, I found the pose and everything a lot more challenging. And her face, and just, yeah, it was really challenging. And I had to do it in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a deadline Devin and I agreed on. So, yeah, it was like quite difficult. But, you know, did what I did.
Yeah, I think deadlines are good. Sometimes you got to give yourself deadlines to kind of force yourself to do something. Because especially if you're not working and stuff, you feel like you have an infinite amount of time, right? Or I feel like sometimes I have the opposite feeling where I have to get it done like now, now. You know, it gets.
Yeah.
It's hard to find that sweet spot.
Yeah, and you get to experience a different kind of stress, which is the deadline stress. I think it's kind of useful to be in contact with that before you get an actual job. Get a feel for it.
Yeah, I really like this one too. I like all 3 of them. They have a composition where you start from one end of the painting. In this case, it's the bottom left, and you go. It makes you follow throughout the painting, right? I feel like I struggle with composition a lot, but I think you hit the nail on the head on some of these.
Yeah, the composition. I think I added the swooshiness.
Yeah.
Quite late into the process. It used to be like a lot more crappier, but then I had this light bulb moment, and I was like, whoosh, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is like render-wise, I think more impressive, I guess. I really like this is right after this Renana's piece, and on some of the feedback I got was that if you want to do splash art, your render has to be much cleaner and tighter. So that's what I try to go for.
Yeah, like what you see. Like what you see in like League of Legends stuff, right? Like really tight.
Yeah, exactly.
Lines. Okay.
And this is another Smite fan.
Yeah.
So Devin helped again.
Yeah. No, it's good. Shout outs to Devin. If he ever watches this, shout outs to Devin.
Yes. Devin is a saint.
So this one was like a art swap kind of thing, right?
Yeah, portrait swap with my friend Dominic Gumbel. I hope I pronounced that right. This was a struggle, man. Like, because I really wanted to go to another level in depicting his likeness and bringing my rendering up, and I just redid the clothing and face and just all the details so many times, and eventually I added this aura of mystery, like the stars behind him and stuff, because I felt that before that it didn't feel like a good background for him, but now it's better.
Yeah, no, I definitely think you're taking the right step in the right direction with more complex things. Like I recently only started doing like pieces like with backgrounds and like foregrounds and stuff like that, because I mostly do character stuff. So it was a huge jump, but it's something I feel like you need to know how to do in this modern kind of like illustration era or whatever, graphic design, not graphic design, but concept art era.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get some sketching done. I already have one sketch I finished right now, so
All right.
so I'm drawing some elves. This is like continuation of like my I did a bunch of dwarves, and I want to, my goal is I want to do like these books where it's like the races, like different like fantasy races and stuff, and like each book, it's like it'll be like a little booklet or a little PDF where it'll be about like the races and their culture and stuff like that, and I'll have like little like doodads and like illustrations and stuff like that. So I started with the dwarves, and then I'm gonna do some elves. And if I can get it in time, I might have several pieces done or several copies for CTN in 2018. I will be there. If you are there, give me a shout out. Are you gonna go, Artur?
Where is it?
It is in California, in Burbank.
Oh, that's really far away. I'm not sure, but maybe. But like your idea of like the elves and dwarves, that's pretty awesome actually. Like, I'm looking forward to that. I really like the dwarves you did.
Yeah, thanks. I've been like reaching for more of this like more stylized style. I used to draw mostly more realistic style, kind of like what you were doing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like so much more comfortable doing it. This kind of like hard edge line kind of stuff. So
yeah, I think it kind of shows through in your work. Like, it looks like you're having fun.
Yeah, I feel like if you could tell artists had fun on like some of their pieces, right? I feel like that is like,
yeah.
I think the most important part I learned this year, or I guess last year as well, is that it's to have fun, right? Do stuff you like to do.
Definitely.
But where do you find that balance? The balance of like, doing like commercial stuff, right?
Yeah, well, let's say thematically, usually like fantasy stuff is fun for me, and sci-fi stuff is like, I don't even do it,
Yeah.
Like, that's, but like, I try to make whatever I'm doing fun. So the smite thingy, with synonymous, I try to find, good elements from it and make it fun. And lately, I've tried to find, fun in even like frustration and challenge, which is a really awesome way of doing things.
Yeah, I agree. I think once you find fun in like challenging yourself, I think that's when I started really growing, like as an artist and as a person too. Like I set like these ridiculous goals for every year, and it's kind of like if you don't meet them, you tried and you shot far, right? But it's better than not doing anything at all. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I'm like the same way right now. Like, I just have this crazy high ambition, and I just try to get super driven about art. Well, what I mean by that is that like, try to like read up on inspiring sources, like some other artists that are like super inspired. Like recently I heard that Millet did Ophelia at the age of 23, and that got me like super driven.
What?
And then
that's crazy.
Yeah, and then Andrew said that Millet used to, hold on, it's my desktop background right now, so I can just read it. So Andrew says, Arthur, did you read memorial article for Bastien Lepage? It said he would be out at 7 a.m. painting in the fields until nighttime fell and it was too dark to paint, at which point he'd go home and draw until his eyes closed.
Wow.
And that's super inspiring for me. Like when you get driven about art, it's like you don't. It's like even when you get tired, you have this "I'm never gonna stop" mentality in your mind. You know.
Yeah.
It's like you have infinite energy or something. It's so powerful.
Yeah. You know what? And you have to like when you get swept up by that wind of like inspiration, I feel like you have to follow it. As soon as you drop off, it's so hard to pick it back up again. Like I took a month break off of like drawing until like last year, like early last year, and it was so hard for me to get back into it. It was so.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that if you feel that, I feel like if you feel that inspiration, that moment of inspiration, just follow it, you know, and see where it leads you.
Yeah, I'm trying to create it or find out what my buttons are, so to speak. You know, where do I get my drive from? And I've actually found that, you know, both the positive reinforcement and negative work for me, but negative reinforcement kind of has like much stronger effect, which is kind of dangerous, of course, but I've done a lot of self-reflection, so I can kind of like keep a good balance of it. And basically, I get frustrated, but it's not like a bad frustration. It's like this, you know, you get really driven kind of frustration, you know, like, what do you mean this guy did this at like 22? I'm gonna fucking man up and work super hard now. You know, it's like you're not happy with yourself, but you know that you can improve, so you get like, you know, I'm gonna improve. Is it like that for you as well?
Yeah, it's what it used to be for me is like when I used to meet really young, good artists, I used to be so jealous, you know. Especially now.
Yeah.
I used to be that young guy too, you know, the young whippersnapper. You know, like you. but you know, you're only young for so long, so eventually you're gonna become old and decrepit, like me.
Yeah.
So. But now I see it as inspiration, or I see that I'm like, oh man, this person must have worked so hard to get to this point. So that inspires.
Yeah. That's what I try to emulate. Like whenever I look at masterwork, I imagine how hard they must have worked. Like, you know, and like read up on their conversations and like what they used to be like. You know, like Sargent, what did he used to be like? He was like larger than life and was like super driven. And you could see the passion in his every action or something like that.
His personality and his actions. I feel like like when I found out that Sargent was like a successful artist by the age of like 22, I'm like, dang, what am I doing with my life? You know.
Yeah, and I found that out as well that he painted like the Carolus Duran painting. He did that at like 22 or 23, which is again my age. So I'm like, oh man, this guy really worked his ass off. You know, what have I been doing? Time to get to work.
No more Overwatch, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it worked really well. Like, you stop slacking off and playing games.
Yeah, I stopped playing games like almost entirely.
Even World of Warcraft?
Let's not get into that right now. When it releases, it'll be the hardest. When World of Warcraft Classic releases, it's gonna be one of the hardest decisions in my life.
Yeah.
So I think I'm in a good spot right now. You know, games don't really. I mean, I like games. Don't get me wrong, but like, I get this like overbearing guilt that I feel like I have to get rid of when I like open up a video game. You know, I can't play any like online games right now, like MMOs or things you have to keep up with. So like even Overwatch, you have to keep up with like the current meta and stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I played it.
Yeah. You have to make sure you have to like know all the changes and stuff. So I try to just play games that like I can get back to. So I was playing Skyrim for a bit. Even though I beat it before, but I never played any of the DLCs. So I'm like playing it occasionally. You know, just those kind of games.
Yeah. I've stopped playing games entirely. Like I made a goal that basically was like, don't play video games. Like that's one of my footnotes in my goal that I'm following, because with games it's like, yeah, for a few days I can keep like a balance where I play like 1 hour or 2 hours, but at some point I'm gonna get to a really interesting part, and then I might like fall back into that habit of playing games, because I used to be fucking addicted, man. Like, just to play games all day. And yeah, it was a really hard habit to knock off. Like, there's so many times where I fell back into it and felt really bad that I wasn't like
Yeah.
using the time to draw.
It takes a lot of self control. Like
Yeah.
I used to play Dota 2 like so much, like almost religiously. I would come home from school, like university. I would even play at university at some points. I would bring my laptop and I would play. Like it got so bad. I would like, and if I wasn't playing, I would watch all of like the pro games and stuff like that. Oh man, it was really bad. But for some people, you know, they like playing, like games is like their life. You know, and they don't have like a passion. They have other passions that aren't as time consuming as art per se, right? Because if you want to get good at like, I mean, there's a lot of kind of art, like lots of kinds of art, but this specific kind of art where we're doing like splash screens or character design or concept art or maybe even like visual development, that takes a lot of work, right? To even It's like playing hockey. You have to know how to ice skate like really well before you even play hockey. You know what I mean?
That's a good analogy.
There's like so many things you have to get good at first before you even like dive in.
Yeah, I mean, with art, it's like so fucking just wide. You have to pick a specialization or something.
Yeah,
And,
I used to think that.
And it ties into like career as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's better to get really good at one thing than try to be like jack of all trades.
So what are your thoughts on that actually? I used to think that I had to be like good at everything. Did you find that now that you're more going towards a specialization?
I actually got advice, and from Devin, that's the superhero. But yeah, he said that you gotta be like a shark nowadays, you know, chase something specific instead of being a jellyfish that just floats around and does whatever comes to mind.
That's a good analogy.
But yeah, it is. And his suggestion was that you know, I go more into splash art, which I do plan doing, but right now I got a job, so that pressure eased off. So I'm like, all right, time to do some projects I'm really keen to do, and kind of have on my plate. Yeah, right now it's like I'm doing a job that I recently got, which finally broke my you know, the self-esteem issue of like, oh, I can't get a job and crap. But now that I got one, my hope is like restored. So it's like a bonfire.
You know,
Dark Souls.
Yeah, bonfire. You know what's funny about that like I'm not good enough kind of thing is that I used to think that. So I work in a completely different kind of environment and kind of job, but I used to think that these people who had these jobs, like they were like so good and I wasn't worthy, right? I was like competing against the best of the best. And then when you finally get that job, you're like, you know what? That was just some strange barrier I put in front of my stuff to like doubt, give myself self doubt, you know?
Yeah,
'Cause
I mean, for me, it doesn't even give like self-doubt. It just again makes me driven.
yeah,
Like somehow, if you give me a challenge and be like, "Yo, these guys are like super good" and stuff like that, you'll never, get there. Then I'm like, "Oh yeah," and then I'm like just going to work and just like working my ass off and like gonna prove myself wrong now. It's
you ever get like
feel
you
like
ever get that feeling that you have to prove yourself?
Yeah, I'd say, okay, so uh, that's like one of my central motivations, I think. I have to prove myself to myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like
it
I
definitely
have
does.
like
Yeah.
I have these like super high standards, and that's self-set standards because I could just be like, yeah, I'm, pretty good, but that just kills my drive. So I set like super high standards. Like I wanna be like a best of the best, master artist. So that just goes like, all right. So if you wanna be that good, why are you slacking off? Or if you wanna be that good, why are you not giving 100% in your work and studies? And why are you like leaving in mistakes that you know are there and you're like not fixing them,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
you know so you start fixing them and you start improving and it's just like you go all in.
That's right. I definitely like that mentality. I find myself getting
Yeah.
caught up in like, no one's gonna notice that arm. It's kind of funky, you know. But you know who does know? You know. Every
Yo.
time you look at that photo, you're gonna see that arm. You're like, ah, man, I could have just fixed
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
But then when
Yeah, every time I look at my old art, I see all the mistakes. I know they're there. So with every new piece I'm doing, I'm more and more motivated to just
yeah.
not leave any again. No winging allowed.
So, but when I do see a mistake that I didn't know back then, I kind of like accept. It's like part of me that it's a part of me to learn to accept like my old bad art. Like some people don't like to look at their old art, right? But I think I've gotten
Yeah.
used to it now, where that I see myself as like that's how I was at that point in my life, right? And just looking at the art I did then, I see the mistakes, but then I know to myself that I didn't know that about those mistakes then, right? The thing that hurts me more is that seeing art I've done in the past where I've made mistakes I didn't deliberately fix, and I knew it at that point. That's what like hurts me. So those pieces like I
Yeah.
hate looking at.
Yeah, I have the same thing. Like, it's fine if you don't know a mistake, it's just artistic development.
Mm-hmm.
It's natural, but if you do know it, then you better not leave it in there.
Yeah, exactly.
You better have a really good excuse for leaving it in there, like, oh, it's, a job with a deadline or something. But if you don't have that, then I don't see any reason.
Or you could say it's my style, but you know that's the classic.
Yeah, that's
It's my
actually
style.
made that joke when Devin brought up the critique for this piece I'm working over right now.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, he's basically said that, isn't in space. And I just made the joke, yo, it's my style.
What did he say?
Or he said, yeah, okay, so what he said was that it's drawn in like both the up angle and down angle. So some pictures are like from looking up and the others are like looking down. So I'm like, yeah, it's my style.
Have you seen the meme with the wolf and the snout is like facing the wolf is facing you, but the snout is like facing sideways?
Oh yeah, the form wolf.
Yeah.
It's like it's the emote in Dark Hard Round, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I saw it.
That one is funny. That's what I think about when I when I think about it's my style.
Yeah.
So do you find that do you start with line more often than not, or do you start with like general shapes, like using hard round or brushes and stuff like that?
So I vary it up. I basically try to use whatever works best in situation. So sometimes I start with paint, sometimes with line, and I tend to jump between the two. So I do like painting that establishes the mood and what I'm going for, but it's like really rough idea and everything's wrong. So at some point I go back to lines and I get all the forms and stuff in perspective and construct it properly. And yeah, then I can jump back into paint, and after that again back into lines and paint, and whatever works best.
Yeah. I am like so obsessed with, or I guess I'm so overly reliant on line. Like I start everything with line. I've never really done that where people do like the hard round thing where they put like a blob on and they kind of chisel away at it. Like I've never done that before, but it's something I'd like to learn because I feel like it's just another way of sketching. And
Yeah, it's another way of thinking, sort of. But
Right.
if you have like grasp on three-dimensional thinking, then it shouldn't be too hard to adjust to.
Yeah.
But again, it's comfort zone thing.
You always want to jump back to your comfort, you know.
Yeah.
And line has always been my comfort because that's how I got started with art and stuff. So how did you get started with art? Like, what spurred you into doing, like, art?
Okay, it's gonna be quite silly. So there was this girl I liked,
Uh-huh.
and I was like in high school.
Uh-huh.
So I was like chatting away, and at some point I realized, wait, I'm just like playing games all the time. I don't really have anything to be proud of.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah.
at first I took up like guitar as a hobby. I'm like, yeah, guys with guitars are pretty cool. I'm gonna do that. And then I practiced a bit, but nah, I wasn't really into it. So okay, so this is kind of going in multiple directions, but around the same time I was sketching in high school. Some classes were boring and I sketched some doodles and stuff, and I come upon this design site, 99 Designs, and they offer you money for logos. And thinking back at it, that site is so crap. Like they offer $100 for their prize money, and like 30 artists submit their free logos basically, and they won't win. So it's like, what a horrible site. But yeah, back then I was like excited at the opportunity of making some money. So I tried to design some logos and failed. And soon after that, I was like, kind of got into drawing more.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back to the girl thing sometime. Don't worry about that. So I got drawing more, and that's where I got into IC, which it's this image board, and it's a shithole basically. And but that's where I got started, and I got some useful advice. I read the Sticky. The Sticky is basically a collection of Loomis books and some advice for beginners. I got called out on the mistakes, which broke my illusion. And at some point, it's like, all right, art, my conception of art and art as a skill was like, it emerged. Like before that, I thought it was just talent and stuff like that. But now I knew it was like this really hard to master skill. So then at some point I was like, okay, well, if I get really good at art, girls will like me. That was my first real motivation, because I was like chatting with this girl, but things weren't going anywhere, and I was like, yeah, I'm kind of worthless and don't have anything. So maybe if I really practice art and be passionate about it, I'll have something I can be proud of. And yeah, that's how I got started. And soon after that, I actually developed some, passion for art, and because I found it so difficult, Yeah, and first year was really, really difficult. Like I just was super frustrated and tried to set these extremely hard goals and become better. And yeah, back then it was just a way to prove my self-worth to others and stuff like that. And so yeah, I wanted others to be like, hey, this guy does great art, because it would give me like an ego boost or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that, I don't know, it's kind of a finicky motivation, I would say.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Mine's not too
But
different either.
yeah. I'm gonna add some more notes and then I'm gonna ask about your beginnings and
Okay.
sources of motivation. So yeah, soon after I discovered like this internal motivation and this self-acceptance thing, which is like, hey, if I work really hard and really give it my best, it feels good and it feels a lot better than any compliments about my art that anyone else can give me. So like whenever someone says, hey, your art is good, it's like, it feels good, but it doesn't compare to like if you feel yourself that you did good.
Yes, I think that's very important too.
So let's hear about your beginnings and motivations, Leslie.
So I pretty much got started around late in high school. It was from World of Warcraft, Warcraft 3, Frozen Throne. That's like what was really popular when I was in high school.
Nice.
And
I love that game.
I just remembered I opened the manual for Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne and I saw all the art and I'm like, dude, this is so cool. People do this for a living? And it just kind of went from there, like I went on the internet, looked up the artists and stuff, and it was also very motivating when you drew something good and like your classmates, this is in high school, like,
yeah,
immature egos and stuff like that, and they were like, oh man, you're so talented and stuff, and it really like, I'm like, oh, they like me.
Yeah.
And so you keep doing it, and it just kind of stuck. First place that got me into art was also IC, I think. I want to say I was like lurking on the channels and stuff, and then someone posted IRC, the IRC channel. I'm like, oh, I know how to use IRC, and so that's where the story starts. And I met so many cool artists who I still talk to today through IC. Like Ollie and stuff. I know them through IC.
Yeah.
So sometimes the spark can lead to a fire. So that's like kind of like my story, and I found that art was such a good way to not only express myself but discipline myself.
Yeah.
Especially like living comfortably in California, you don't really have to do much, but art really gives me a means to like keep going at it, right? I think that the biggest thing is that I don't want to be an ordinary person. Like,
definitely.
I see like especially now I see my coworkers, they go home and they go home to, I mean, I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but they go home and they go and enjoy their Game of Thrones or videos. That's what they look forward to, right? But
yeah,
I'm like looking ahead of that. I look forward to creating. That's what like makes me happy right now, is creating.
Yeah, and as a side note, like I can't really imagine being a normal person anymore. Like, what do you mean you don't draw and have ambition? Right? What do you mean you just go home and try to spend your time until you go to sleep and just waste time basically.
Do you find that you have a hard time connecting with people who aren't artists?
Um, I would, I guess, kinda. I don't know. Yeah, I would say somewhat. I can still connect with them if I put effort into them, but there's like lack of interest, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know. I'm kind of really, I'm not sure if introverted is the right word, but like social interaction at the moment isn't in my primary concerns. I'm just too caught up with art and stuff.
Right.
Like I still love interacting with people who are, as passionate as me about it.
Mm-hmm.
But with normal people, it's like, yeah, I can talk about like the normal stuff, but it's just like my soul is not there.
Yeah. Those
So
those normies.
re
Re. No, it's definitely the same for me at work. I'm like, oh yeah, that's nice. Oh yeah, yeah. Football, hand egg. Yeah, I caught the Super Bowl. I watched it.
Lakers is my favorite
Lakers.
team.
Yeah, basketball is super popular at the office, and it's hard for me to talk to any of them. To any of like people my age about anything, because all they do is they want to talk about sports or like what the bars and stuff like that they like to go to or what happened at the bar. And so I end up so the first friends I made at work were these middle-aged ladies that really like to cook, because I also love to cook, and so we just share recipes and stuff like that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna switch to your screen to see what you're up to.
All right.
All right, so can you So I see that you're
Well,
doing
I've been talking and sketching, and it's really hard. I keep making too many lines and not going like 100% focus in, but I'm managing to move along a bit and kind of got the major forms and stuff in place, and now I'm trying to push the shapes and style more while still paying attention to the underlying forms, which is, I find this really difficult because look at this lion wrecker style. It's like, well, this is a really low quality, but it's like hard to combine this really effective shape language and style with 3D forms for me, because I've never really done it that much. And did this lion wrecker study earlier, which I will be fixing. I got some good advice from Devin Corbin, not Flats, Corbin.
Devin number 2. Okay.
Not terrible good.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically this needs to be wider, and I will go back to this once I'm done with my head.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So what do you find like this helps, like doing these kind of studies helps you in your original drawings? Because from my end, I like rarely do studies. I do like observational like scribbles and stuff, but I never like dissect anything. And I feel like that might be one of my faults, is that I rely on, first of all, I probably have a huge ego about that I need to work on, but I rely on my mind so much. Like I rarely use reference, for example, not because I don't want to, but it's because I'm almost like forgetful, because my mind is always running. My mind has all these ideas that I can just like take from, do you feel, where do you find yourself that balance of doing a lot of studies and a lot of original work?
Well, I try to do more original work than studies, and yes, I think I have little tips in the same issue that you have. But in my longer paintings, I try to do it from head first, and anyways, I can't even find like good references. I don't really search for them that long.
Yeah.
But at some point, I hit a wall, and then I gotta just look at reference, look at better artists. You're doing like quicker stuff, so I don't know, maybe just gather up all your works, look at them, uh, see where you've improved and where you could improve more. And yeah, like reference is good. You just have to like take the info in and regurgitate it out.
Yeah.
You don't mindlessly copy, you actually figure out a new thing and then you apply that thing in your original work. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Okay.
I also think that using reference is a skill, and it's a skill you have to build.
Yes.
I see some
Yeah.
people use reference, they're like masters at it. They're like, I'm gonna take this arm shape from this reference and this head shape from this reference and mishmash it with like the idea in my head and then create something really cool, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I've been trying to use more reference, but my reference so far that I've been using is more like inspirational reference. I don't really use pose reference. I try to go off the pose I have in my mind or kind of like winging it, but I'll get like artists I really like or I'm really inspired by lately. So, right, like lately I've been really inspired by Man Arenas and Ghibli art. So like kind of my art is kind of like I take a little bit of Ghibli stuff, take a little bit of Arenas' stuff, and then I put a little bit of my own stuff into it.
Yeah, it's a good way of doing things as well, I'd say.
Yeah.
Like because you're still like looking at this really effective arrangement of shapes. And you're taking something really good from it, and using it to great effect.
So do you find yourself? How long do you usually take on a piece? Like this is something I've tried to I have been trying to work on for a bit. Before I've used to like try to just rush through a painting. Like I'll try to do it all as much as I can in one day, and then the next day I'll work on it as much as I can that day, and then next day I'll work on it as much as I can that day. But now I've been trying to like digest it a little bit, so I'll only work on a piece for 4 or 5 hours on one day, work on another one for a bit the next day, and then go back to the first piece, work on it 3 hours, and then kind of like go on and off. I feel like that is just something I just came out of the blue, but I feel like it helps me get like second looks on the piece. So what do you think? What's your method of finishing something,
Well, it varies, but generally I try to just get it to as high level as possible. And, of course, at some point you have to have a cutoff, but I really try to go all in. Actually, I would like to link you an imager about the process of my latest painting. So you're on your screen right now, right?
Yeah, I'm on my screen right now.
All right. So I'm gonna go and look up the Facebook post where I have the link, and we can just put it on your screen, and then we can kind of go through my process. And
yeah,
what happens.
You can put it onto the Discord. Yeah. I can click on it and then.
Yeah. So just gonna look at your screen, and we can basically discuss my process through the entire image and all the failures and successes.
Okay.
So these are kind of messy, but I'm gonna go over each of them, I suppose. So I ended up. Actually, let's scroll to the bottom first.
Okay. All the way to the bottom. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think. Okay, so that's where I just went back to drawing and remapping the perspective. That's a really early stage of it.
Yeah.
think the entire piece took me like 80 hours, maybe even longer. I
Wow.
just, it wasn't the final render or anything, it was just that I kept going back and making different decisions, improving composition and all that. So scroll up like softly,
Mm-hmm.
go to the next image uh, on the imager. Alright, that's a really early version of it.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that it had like a really different moods, and I think I kind of like that mood more, but the image I ended up with, the moods that I had in the older version, didn't quite work. So
Okay, I can see you
yeah, if you go,
remapping it, right?
yeah, I tried this tilted perspective, and the guy was leaning to the left too much. I got a ton of advice, by the way, on this. Uh, so that's what inspired me to just try my hardest and make a piece where, at least effort-wise,
Uh-huh.
I put in the most effort ever. So yeah, I just kept redoing it over and over. And even though the end result is like, well, I'm still not happy with it, and it looks really bland compared to some of the earlier versions. At least I put in a lot of effort, and I can be satisfied at that. Like that image is it's finished in a sense.
Yeah.
I've gone over all the parts and edges, and I gave it my all.
So I I think this is a good topic to close on is what do you think about when you get to a piece and you're stuck and you have two options: continue with what you know as of that point, or stop working on it, do your studies, and then get back to that. What do you do in that situation?
Oh, I put it up for critique. uh, Now you can also just stop working on it, uh, look at some master artists and just compare yours to them, or even take a screenshot of it, put it in a collection folder with the images of other master artists, or make like a compilation where it just you look at master artwork, then your artwork, master artwork, then your artwork, and you start seeing these differences. And it might not be most pleasant experience, but it's like I don't know, I find it really just opens your eyes up.
Yeah, because in the past, whenever I ran into that situation, and it's whether to continue with what you know with, right? Because even if you get like critique and stuff, right, your skill level at that point is very limited, right? It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, and or to just stop entirely and go back and do studies. I've always taken the latter route where I would just go back, do some studies, but then what happens is you lose that motivation to do the original piece because you're like, oh, I can do this whole piece again but better, and it causes for
Yeah.
me it causes like an endless cycle of like half finished paintings like ended up in the dumpster. So now actually what I've done is just continue with what I know with what I've know at that point, and just get as much input as you can and continue onto that route, you know.
Yeah, I think I kind of went through with it on my image as well. Because, like, if well, you've seen it, like the earlier versions and
Yeah.
iterations. I could have taken those into a finish as well, and
Mhm.
it would have been a different kind of cool image.
Right.
But yeah, I just for wondered, like, all right, so this one image, I'm gonna just iterate more than usual. But
Mhm.
yeah, um, mm,
Yeah.
I don't know. You can do it both ways, I guess, because you get if you like, you know, go with an image, and you finish with what you got. You can move on to the next one and work on that. So it saves some time.
So what do you think is okay? So last thing before we end, what do you think is more important? The more pieces you have finished, or the more works that you've started?
You're hitting me with this impossible question, Leslie.
No, I think the answer is different for everyone, because I think for me personally, I've started so many images that I've never completed that finishing more images has been more beneficial for me, because now you know the journey. You're more familiar with the journey, right? This is just my opinion. You're more familiar with the journey.
Yeah.
And so
you go through the beginning stages so many times that you get really good at it, right?
Yeah. And then you get comfortable, and it becomes like your comfort zone, and that's why I only do like sketches and stuff.
Okay, so I'd like to add to that. If there is an ideal, I think it's that you do your quicker pieces, but every now and then you do one long one. But you focus on the quicker ones more. But just every now and then, you take your time. You do one long one, and then you can, focus on the quicker ones again. Just like a little 80-20% balance time-wise.
That's actually.
I don't think. I never think that absolutes are right. It's always some kind of balance.
Right.
That's right. Or the most effective one.
And it works differently for everyone. But I think for me, I've always had this weird fear of like finishing a piece, because I kind of feared that it would come out bad, because I've never gotten to that finishing point like often, right? So I always would stop before I finish, because I'm like, oh, this is gonna be bad. So now I've kind of like forced myself, like giving myself a goal, like this year I'm going to finish one piece every month, one colored rendered piece every month. And so that kind of gives me like a time constraint. So now I'm like, okay, I do a bunch of sketches now. I'm going to pick from one of these sketches that I'm going to finish as a painting, So that's kind of like my compromise to myself, because I know because you know yourself best, right? I know my habits. I love to sketch. Like that's like my thing. I love to explore ideas and things like that, So I think knowing yourself, knowing where your faults are, and then compromising is like a good way to go about it.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks for joining me today, Arthur. I think our chat was pretty.
Thank you for having me.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah, this went by really quickly.
Oh yeah, like the hour went by like so fast.
Yeah, it's amazing. It was fun.
Yeah. All right.